Good evening. I want to talk to you about morals today. Now, I get a lot of grief from atheists who want to say we're moral people, etc., etc. We don't need religion, we don't need God for morals. It's a big talking point on their part. Well, here's the problem. The source of morals, as we see it today, are a result of many thousands of years of human culture interacting with each other. And in every culture, since the dawn of time, there have been religious individuals. And all of those religious individuals had with them a moral code. Also, believe it or not, since the dawn of time, there have been atheists who also had behaviors that they considered to be logical, hence they thought were moral, on a guttural response level. Now, religion up till recently was the dominant moral source of authority in the world. Most people went to their religion to figure out what was moral or not. Now, secularists or non-religious individuals frequently use the fact that people went to religion to twist religion to support something they wanted. And that is in which lies the difficulty. When an atheist says, I'm a moral person, because I do good, we're talking about a lot of subjective judgments that are probably based on a lot of social development over thousands of years that include both secular movements and religious movements. So what they're looking at as their personal moral code is actually a direct result of religious influence and others, secular influences. And while this might anger them, it doesn't change the facts. They didn't arbitrarily pick this stuff out of thin air. They weren't born and raised in a vacuum. They interacted with our society, and our society has in it moral codes. Those moral codes are based largely on part of historical upbringing of our culture. The society has it developed. And that includes a large degree of moral codes based on our religion of Christianity. Now, other countries have different moral codes, believe it or not. And they again are based largely on the influences of religion in those areas. For example, in the Orient, they have a set of different moral codes. There are similarities, don't get me wrong, but generally speaking, they do have a series of moral codes based largely in part on their religious beliefs. Now, when we think about these things, and you talk about morals, you're talking about something very abstract. When you talk about good and bad, you're talking about very abstract concepts. Now, in the religious world, these tend to be more solid concepts, but in the atheistic or secular world, they're a lot more abstract. A lot of people who are atheists love to say, I'm a happy person and I don't have God. I don't need God to be happy. I'm a moral person and I'm a happy moral person. As if somehow, if you're moral, you're going to be happy. First off, that's apples and oranges. Morality and happiness do not coincide. Some of the happiest people in the world are some of the most evil people in the world. The Nazis were quite happy when they were walking people through those death camps. The butchers in Africa who went against in tribal conflicts that used machetes to chop up their foes were quite happy while they were doing it. probably went home very pleased with themselves. Likewise with any other movement. Go to jail and you will find people who are content with what they did. That guy deserved it. Yeah, I don't blame him. I deserve to give this guy this treatment. I deserve to hurt him. I deserve to kill him. Whatever. Happiness does not equal morality. Okay, moral codes can bring suffering, can bring pain, can bring misery upon the guy who follows them, guy or gal who follows them. Moral codes are codes that trump the happiness. Happiness does not automatically result from moral codes. Long-term happiness does, but momentary, at-the-moment gratification doesn't. Now, when an atheist says, well, gosh, I don't have to rely on God, I can figure it out for myself. Well, yes, you can. But, first off, you have to introduce a lot of abstract ideas into your assessment of what is moral, because nothing logical occurs in morality. What do I mean by nothing logical that occurs in morality? It's put quite simply this way. For something to be considered moral, you have to assign good or bad to it. That something is a good result or something is a bad result. And that is, by nature, abstract. Let's take it on the most basal level. People say we shouldn't have a society where we go out and kill other people randomly and for no good reason, and that's part of a natural society because it would destroy the human race. Right? And therefore it's moral not to go out and kill. Well, yeah, it's moral not to go and kill, but that's not a logical argument. The argument used there is actually an emotional argument, not a logical argument. Why so? Because it assumes that the survival of mankind is something good. 90% of the species on the planet Earth have already gone extinct, and there's new ones coming along. So, if you say that mankind going extinct is a bad thing, well, by whose standard? Whatever fills our gap would probably think it's a good thing. You know? When the plants grow up where the cities once were, maybe it's a good thing for the plants. The standard that humans should survive, or the human race should survive, is, well, subjective. You can say, well, rapists should be not, people shouldn't commit rape because it hurts people, and etc. Again, you are assigning the qualities of good and bad, and those are abstracts, not logical arguments. They are emotional arguments. There's nothing logical about good or bad. So when you make that statement, you go, well, gosh, well, that assumes it's a bad thing to rape. It's a bad thing to make the other person suffer pain. And the person who is doing making the person suffer pain is enjoying it. So for him, he could make the argument that, hey, gosh, it's a good thing for me. Therefore, it's a moral thing if we're going to define goodness to equal morality. Therein lies the problem with non-religious morality. Non-religious morality is based largely upon what society will let you get away with. You do what you feel good is good for you within the context of what society will allow you to do. And of course, that only works if the society is a moral society or a good society. There you have the problem. Thank you very much. Have a good day and God bless.